I never thought I'd end up like this, driving down a cracked highway in a busted Civic, chasing some Craigslist gig that might just keep a roof over my head. My name's Jake Mercer. I'm 28, a freelancer by accident and desperation. I used to load trucks at the warehouse before the layoffs. After that, it was all quick cash scams and product tests nobody cared about. Rent's $2,800 overdue, and every text from my landlord sounds like a countdown to eviction. Lena's with me, my best friend since high school. She's working bartending shifts at a dive downtown, her thrift store denim, jacket zipped halfway because the zipper's broken. Her asthma's acting up and her inhaler's nearly empty. No insurance means no refill. She's fighting her own battles, buried in medical bills from her dad's stroke last month. We both know this quick job in the next town is our last shot. We're creeping down Highway 17, the kind of road where the trees crowd in close and the only light is our car's headlights cutting through the mist. We joke to keep the nerves down, but the chill isn't just from the cold November air. The Sleepy Hollow Inn sign flickers like it's barely hanging on, especially the burnt-out S. Sleepy Hollow Inn, just like us, hanging by a thread. I glance at my cracked phone screen, job details, vague and sketchy, but promising cash if we show up tonight. It's 11:45 p.m. The woods around us smell damp and sharp like rotten leaves mixed with gas from passing trucks. Lena sighs, gripping the steering wheel tighter. One last shot, huh? I nod. This gig's our shot. No backup, no plan B. It's now or the street. We'd been driving for nearly an hour when the car shuddered hard and came to a sudden stop. I slammed on the brakes, heart pounding. Ahead, a massive oak tree had fallen right across the road, its branches sprawling like dead arms blocking any way through. Lena groaned. Of course, just our luck. We jumped out, grabbing whatever branches we could drag aside. But the thing was stubborn, too big to move without a chainsaw we didn't have. As Lena muttered about calling for a tow, I noticed movement in the trees. A woman stepped out, soaked to the bone in a nightgown, her hair tangled and wild. Barefoot, she stood, in the middle of the highway. Her laughter was the kind that cracks glass, high, sharp, unnatural. No one leaves, she whispered. They all stay. Ha 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 ha. I tightened my grip on a branch, heart racing. Lena rolled her eyes. Probably some meth head. Let's get out of here. We hurried back to the car and peeled off, leaving the fallen oak and that weird woman behind. But something felt wrong. When we stopped to check the rear bumper, long scratches marred the paint, like claws had dragged across metal. Neither of us spoke much after that. The woods seemed thicker, darker, as if they'd swallowed the road behind us. I wondered if it was just bad luck or something more. A warning, maybe. Not long after, the back tire blew out with a loud pop. I cursed under my breath and pulled. The spare tire was bald, another Craigslist scam just like the rest of the car. My phone showed no signal. We were stranded. Then, through the mist, a neon sign flickered. Vacancy. The Sleepy Hollow Inn. A rundown place that looked like it hadn't seen customers in years. We needed shelter, so we parked and shuffled inside. The lobby smelled like mildew, stale cigarettes, and broken dreams. A man with nicotine-stained fingers and a name tag that read Dave barely looked up from an ancient CRT TV. The guest book was dusty, last signature from 2019. He handed us key 13. The key was sticky, like someone had spilled something dark on it. Outside, I caught sight of a man leaning against a rusted pickup. His faded trucker hat and peeling Smith & Son's delivery jacket looked like a ghost from a dead company that shut down after some freak accident years ago. His left eye twitched nonstop. Behind him, that barefoot woman from the road stood grinning like she belonged there. Something about this place didn't sit right. But with no other options, we took the room. I kept wondering how many stories had ended here, and how many hadn't checked out. At 3:22 a.m., the knocking started. 3 slow, deliberate knocks rattling our door. Lena and I froze. Through the peephole, the staring man was there, his head tilted as if listening. His shadow stretched unnaturally long. In the flickering hallway light, we didn't sleep. The night stretched on. thick with unease. In the morning, over cold toast and watery coffee, I told Dave about the man outside. "Ain't had no other guests last night," Dave said, voice rough and tired. The pickup was gone, but the woman's bare footprints led into the woods. We packed up and left fast, but the eerie feeling clung to us like a second skin. Just before we hit the highway, my phone buzzed. A message. "This Craigslist posting has been deleted by its author. No job, no money, no answers." Back home, the landlord's texts piled up. "Pay by Friday or I change the locks." Lena's inhaler was empty, and urgent care wouldn't refill it without insurance. The tire shop turned us away, their card machine declined. Medical bills and rent hung over us like a guillotine. A week later, scrolling through Craigslist, I saw a new Garrison night shift, Sleepy Hollow Inn, cash daily. No questions. The contact email was staringman89yahoo.com, mail to staringman89yahoo.com. The motel, the man, the job that might trap us forever or be the only way out. This whole nightmare was real. Not ghosts, not monsters, but the cold, hard fear of running out of options. The people we met weren't supernatural beings, just broken, wrong souls in a dying town. Sometimes the worst horror isn't what's out there, it's what's waiting at home. The bills, the eviction, the sickness. Survival can cost you everything, and sometimes the last place you want to end up is the only place left. It was a Sunday night, and I'd just finished translating menus for a bistro that couldn't pay me until next month. My roommate had moved out without warning, leaving me with double the rent and 2 weeks until eviction. I lived off instant noodles and deadlines. Every night I combed Kijiji until my vision blurred, but all the listings were scams, overpriced, or required credit I didn't have. Then I saw it. Chambre à louer, $400 Maurice près du métro, quartier tranquille. It felt like a miracle. I messaged right away. Mark replied within minutes saying I could visit the next evening. It was already late, but I had no choice. I didn't sleep that night, picturing hardwood floors, maybe even a little window with light coming in. My gut whispered too good to be true, but desperation speaks louder than instinct. By morning, I had made up my mind. I'd check it out, say thank you, and move in by Friday if it seemed okay. I never thought checking it out would become something I'd relive in nightmares. The triplex on Rue des Érables looked like it hadn't seen paint since the 90s. The metal railing on the fire escape rattled under my feet as I rang the buzzer. Mark opened the door. Early 50s, patchy beard, yellow-stained t-shirt. He greeted me with a wet cough and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. The hallway smelled like mildew and cat pee. When I asked to see the kitchen, he waved it off. Attic, first. Upstairs, he pushed open the attic door. No window, just a skylight screwed shut. A twin mattress on the floor with yellowed sheets, one bare bulb overhead. It smelled wrong. I noticed a chain lock on the outside of the door. Then at the top of the stairs, 2 pairs of work boots, not Mark's size. "My brother stays sometimes," he said when I asked. I forced a smile and pretended to get a call. "My friend's outside. Wallet emergency," I said in broken English. His face twitched, then he stepped aside. "Sure, no pressure." I left fast. As I reached the sidewalk, I turned once. He was still watching. I spent the next day researching. Mark's number had been tied to 3 deleted listings. One matched a Reddit post. A woman said she barely escaped a basement room where the door locked behind her. That night, I barely ate. I deleted my Kijiji app and blocked Mark's number. Then, a new listing showed up. Female-only shared flat, Villeray, $450. Claire, the poster, seemed normal, friendly. We chatted. I agreed to check it out. But when I arrived, the apartment was empty. Just a mattress and a camera on a tripod. No dishes, no clothes. I texted Claire, and the reply came instantly. "Change of plans. Mark will give you the key. He's on Rue des Érables." My skin turned cold. I ran. 2 days later, a blue Dodge Caravan was parked near my job. I told myself it was coincidence, until I saw the Instagram request from a Mark Landlord 44. No posts, just a blank profile. That night, I slept with a kitchen knife beside me. My landlord refused to give me more time. Rent or out. Simple as that. Called shelters. Everyone was full. Friends? Most were students or barely surviving themselves. I told my coworker, Aisha, everything. She didn't hesitate. Stay on my couch. Tonight. I packed that evening. Around 10 p.m., I heard 3 slow knocks on my door. I froze. At the peephole mark, holding a folder. A lease inside. I dialed 911 with shaking hands. By the time they arrived, he was gone, but the officer shrugged. Without proof, we can't do much. Just don't open the door next time. Later, I noticed fresh scratches around my deadbolt, like someone had tried something. That night, I left everything and fled to Aisha's. I never went back. I sleep better now, though every bump outside still makes my heart jump. I carry pepper spray in my tote, and I haven't opened Kijiji in weeks. Mark's listings are gone, but so are the police reports. No follow-up, just silence. Sometimes I wonder if someone took that attic room after me. Maybe she didn't get the chance to lie about a forgotten wallet. Maybe she didn't make it to the stairs. If it's too cheap, there's a reason. When housing becomes desperation, predators thrive. Trust your instincts. One bad listing can cost more than your rent. It can cost your life. Detroit's Delray neighborhood isn't on any postcards. The buildings lean like tired old men. Windows boarded, bricks eaten by time and rain. You don't move here, you get stuck here. I was 22, juggling a full load at community college, and working night shifts at a greasy spoon off I-75. My mom's diabetes had gotten worse after she lost her Medicaid coverage. The insulin she needed ran about $48 a vial. We had 2 days left of her last dose. I stared at the 32-inch Samsung in our living room, the only thing not secondhand or cracked. Bought it on clearance 2 years ago with my tips. I posted it on Craigslist. 32. Samsung Smart TV, $50, works perfect, need gone today. The reply came fast. I'll take it. Meet at Motor City Inn, RM 217, cash. I paused. The Motor City Inn was the kind of place where you didn't make eye contact. My coworker Darnell got his jaw broken there for his wallet, but insulin doesn't wait, and my dad wasn't going to help. He hadn't left the couch since the GM. Plant closed, just sat there in a stained tank top watching old Spanish game shows with the pistol he kept under the cushion. I grabbed the TV, tossed it in a laundry cart, and texted the buyer I'd be there in 30. As I rolled it out, Eli was in the hallway, fiddling with the brake line on someone's busted scooter. He looked up, nodded. Selling it? He asked. Need the cash, I said. He didn't press. Just pulled something from his pocket, an origami crane made from a diner receipt. I took it without smiling. Outside, it was already dark. November in Detroit doesn't waste time. The cold bit through my hoodie as I pushed the cart down the sidewalk, pretending not to hear the fireworks, gunshots off in the distance. You tell yourself it's just one sketchy deal. Just this once. You think you're smart enough, tough enough. But desperation is a scent, and someone was already following it. The Motor City Inn was quieter than I expected, which somehow made it worse. Fluorescent lights flickered over stained carpet and a soda machine that had been pried open like a rib cage. Room 217 was halfway down the second floor, the door slightly ajar. I paused. Texted. Here. Buzz. Reply. Come in, it's open. I pushed the door slowly. Inside, the smell hit me first. Old takeout and mold. The TV buyer, Mitch, was sitting on the edge of the bed. Early 40s, scruffy beard, cheap hoodie. Not a college student. 2 other guys were in the shadows near the bathroom. I couldn't see their faces. Mitch stood up, smiled like he'd practiced it in the mirror too many times. You bring it? I nodded, stepping back toward the door. Then my phone buzzed again. I glanced down. A photo. My apartment building. Taken. From the street. Timestamp 10 minutes ago. Nice place. Or Dad home? My chest locked up. I turned, ready to bolt. But the bathroom door opened. Inside was a laptop showing my building's front entrance, the lobby, even the hallway camera. Above the elevator, a toolkit was laid out on a towel. Bolt cutters, a taser, zip ties. They'd been watching me. Maybe for days, I didn't think. I grabbed the TV by the base and hurled it at Mitch. It hit his chest and sent him stumbling back. One of the other guys lunged but slipped on the cords. I kicked the door open and sprinted down the hall. In the parking lot, my bike was gone, and a black van, one I'd seen on our street before, started its engine. They weren't just looking to rob me. They had a plan, and I was the next box on their list to check. I hit the pavement running, lungs burning, heart slamming against my ribs like it wanted out. The black van's headlights flared as it turned toward me, engine snarling like a dog off its leash. There was no time. I looked left, then right. Nothing but cold street and boarded buildings. Then, like divine intervention wrapped in rust, Eli's tow truck screamed around the corner. It didn't slow down. It didn't swerve. It slammed straight into the van's driver's side door. Glass exploded. The van spun, metal groaning in protest. Eli leapt out before the engine stopped shaking. He had a tire iron in one hand, wild in the eyes, jaw clenched like he'd been here before. I ducked behind a dumpster, adrenaline making my limbs jelly. The van's passenger door burst open. One of the men from the motel, maybe the guy in the shadows, staggered out, limping, blood trickling from his temple. Eli didn't hesitate. He charged. The guy raised something, looked like a taser, but Eli knocked it from his grip with one swing, then another, and another. By the time the cops arrived, Eli was sitting on the curb, hands behind his head. Calm. They took statements, but their attitude shifted once I mentioned Craigslist. Just another meetup gone bad, one officer muttered. Happens all the time. Even when they found the laptop in room 217, with surveillance of 12 other sellers, Nina's student ID photo and a fresh pack of bone saw blades, they didn't treat it like the near trafficking attempt it was. Could be a prank, the other officer said. I couldn't believe it. These men had planned something organized, targeted. I'd nearly become a statistic, and they didn't even file it as a felony. Back at home, Dad was on the couch, pistol already cocked before I knocked. You okay? He asked, not looking up. No, I said honestly, but I will be. He nodded and turned the volume back up. The TV somehow still worked. It had a crack in the corner now, a dead pixel line through the middle, but it turned on. I set it back up in our living room and no one said a word. Maybe it was pride, maybe denial. But I kept it. A week later, I started getting airdrop requests. They came at random, on the bus, in the diner, outside the community, college library. From Mitch photo, my street, my window, a hallway in my building. I turned off Bluetooth, started taking new routes home. Eli helped me search for trackers on my bike, under my backpack, even in the seams of my jacket. We didn't find anything, but the feeling never left. The police said there was nothing they could do unless a law was broken. I asked them how many laws it took to matter. No one had an answer. Eli changed after that night too. I caught him flinching during fireworks, or zoning out if someone dropped a tray at the diner. Sometimes, his hand would clench around nothing, like gripping a ghost. I started walking up the 9 flights to our apartment, just to avoid the elevator's camera. Eli began walking with me, always saying he had to check my brakes anyway. Sometimes we'd talk about stupid things, bike grease, old war movies, his time fixing Humvees in Fallujah. He never brought up the motel. I never asked what else he saw in the van. But I noticed now, his hands lingered when he passed me tools. His shoulder brushed mine in the dark stairwell, and neither of us moved away. The world hadn't gotten safer, but maybe, just maybe, we weren't facing it alone anymore. Winter came fast. Snow powdered the broken sidewalks like powdered sugar over a bad memory. The glow of the cracked TV painted our living room blue at night. Mom was rationing insulin. Still, half doses, sometimes skipping days when she felt okay. I hated that I knew the price of a vial by heart. Hated that one Craigslist trap nearly took me out because I needed 2 of them. Eli came by more often, sometimes with parts for my bike, sometimes with old DVDs we could watch. Dad never said a word, just sat nearby cleaning his shotgun or watching, always watching. The airdrop requests finally stopped. But I never trusted that it was over. I changed passwords, moved the router, got Eli to teach me how to check for bugs and cameras. Paranoia became habit. I wasn't sure it would ever leave. Then one night, I caught myself smiling at Eli while we were watching Back to the Future. He looked back, and for a second, just one, I forgot how scared I'd been. I forgot the motel, the photos, the list. With my name on it, I just saw him. We didn't kiss, that wasn't us yet. But when the movie ended, he stayed a little longer, and when he left, he gave me a new origami crane, this time made from an insulin coupon. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I was still here to laugh. $50 shouldn't be enough to risk your life. But sometimes, desperation rewrites the rules. And predators know that. The real horror wasn't the motel, or Mitch, or even that black van. It was how close I came to becoming invisible, and how easily the world would have let it happen. So I learned. I watched. I fought. And I survived because no one else was going to save me, except maybe Eli and maybe me. It started the day I checked my bank account and saw a number so low it felt like a joke. $32. That's what I had left to my name. Rent was overdue, and my sublet was ending in 4 days. I'd burned bridges in the name of truth, exposing a bribery ring in the Ministry of Transportation, and it cost me every major client I had. Editors stopped replying. Old colleagues ghosted. My only work now was editing horoscopes and fluff pieces for a sketchy blog out of Mendoza. I felt humiliated, sleeping on a mattress in a once grand room in San Telmo, now barely livable, eating canned lentils every night. That's when I found the listing. On Mercado Libre, 1-bedroom flat, historic charm, Baracas, 200 month, USD, renovations in progress but move-in ready. A phone number followed along with 6 blurry interior photos. White walls, a wooden floor, and, most odd, a crucifix above a dusty fireplace. I messaged instantly. Hector Villegas called me 2 hours later. His voice was sandpaper, the kind that smoked through for decades. He insisted we meet in person, at a cafe in Constitution of all places. Safety, he said. I didn't like it. But desperate people don't get to be picky, especially blacklisted ones. We met at a greasy cafe near the Constitucion train station. I arrived early, stomach growling, and drank tap water while pretending to review notes on my busted laptop. Hector walked in 15 minutes late, old, wiry, wearing a brown corduroy jacket and nicotine-stained hands. He smiled like a man who'd learned how to disarm with false charm. He slid a thin, handwritten lease across the table. No contracts. Through agencies, too expensive, this way it's clean. Any other tenants, I asked? Of course, he said, waving his hand. Quiet people, artists, writers like you. I didn't remember telling him I was a journalist. I followed him to Baracas, tucked down a side street I'd never noticed before, Callejón del Silencio. The building looked like something out of a forgotten noir film. Stucco peeling, iron, balcony rusted to hell, the main light flickering weakly above broken mailboxes. Every slot was empty. My flat was on the 3rd floor. No elevator. Hector handed me the keys and was gone before I'd even tried the faucet. By nightfall, I discovered the fridge barely worked. There was no hot water, and the walls were so thin, I could hear the light hum of city noise but never another human sound. Just silence. Always silence. By day 3, I knew something was wrong. In Buenos Aires, buildings breathe, people argue, TVs blare, dogs bark. But here, the only sound was the buzzing fridge and the occasional echo of my own steps. Curiosity, and maybe the journalist in me got the better of my fear. I started checking the other floors. Apartment 4B's door was ajar. Inside, a chair, a single light bulb, and a wall covered in newspaper clippings. Missing persons, dates circled in red. No furniture, no sign of life. Just dust and dread. Apartment 6A was locked, but the air outside, it smelled off, metallic and cloying like spoiled meat. I texted Hector, "Are there really other tenants?" His reply came instantly, "Come to 6A, I'll show you." 20 minutes later, I heard the keys jingling. I tried to act calm as I greeted him in the hallway. His smile was wrong this time. "You're curious, good, let's fix that." He gripped my elbow with surprising strength and turned the key in 6A's lock. Panic surged. I faked a coughing fit, doubling over. When he loosened his hold, I rammed my shoulder into his ribs. He fell hard, cursing. I bolted down the stairs into my flat, slamming the door and barricading it with my dresser. Outside, silence again. Then his voice muffled through the door. "You'll regret this. The rent's due Friday." At dawn, I packed a backpack with what little I had. My laptop, a notepad, one change of clothes. I left the keys on the kitchen counter next to a half-empty cup of coffee and slipped out the back stairwell. No sign of Hector. No sign of anyone. I took refuge in a 24-hour laundromat off Avenida Independencia. I stayed there for 2 nights, paying for small loads of clothes I didn't have just to justify my presence. I pawned my camera, my last valuable possession, to buy bus fare and food. At a cyber cafe, I searched Hector Villegas. The internet turned up what I feared. 3 separate unsolved disappearances, each tied to properties he once owned. All victims were men between 25 and 35. All were renting short-term. I filed a report with the local police. The officer didn't even blink. "You signed the lease," he said, shrugging. "It's a civil matter." I moved to Cordoba the next week, sleeping on the floor of a friend's cousin's apartment. But even there, I never shook the feeling of being watched. Once, parked, across the street, a 1998 Fiat Duna. Same color as Hector's. Coincidence? Maybe. I don't believe in coincidences anymore. It's been over a month, and I still lock every door 3 times. I startle at knocks. My dreams twist with flickering hallways and rotting wallpaper. Then last week, on a whim, or maybe instinct, I checked Mercado Libre again. There it was. Charming flat for rent, perfect for writers. Barracas. Ask for Hector. The photo showed the same unit I fled from. Same broken tile, same dusty chair. My coffee cup was still on the counter. No one had cleaned. I reported the listing. Again. Nothing happened. The truth? I don't think Hector rents those apartments for money. I think he collects stories, or the people who carry them. I still don't know what was behind the door of 6A. I never want to. But sometimes I wake at 3 a.m. thinking about the names in those newspaper clippings. How many of them ignored their gut? How many thought, like me, that this was just a cheap place in a hard city? Poverty makes you vulnerable, but desperation makes you blind. When something feels wrong, too quiet, too empty, too easy, it probably is. The rent may be cheap, but the cost? That's something you don't pay with money. It started like a lot of bad stories do. Broke, half awake, and scrolling Craigslist at 3:47 in the damn morning. My moldy basement apartment in Gary was colder than usual, probably because the gas company shut off the heat 3 days ago. Had 2 layers on and a third unpaid notice from Ms. Wojcik, my landlord/retired nurse. She left a tuna casserole with it. Nice lady, but even her casseroles can't cover rent. My laptop hummed weakly, the fan whining like it was on its last leg. I clicked into Gigs General Labor, and there it was, $100 for 3 words, immediate payment. Sounded like a scam. Hell, most things do. But my stomach growled and I hadn't eaten since yesterday's gas station hot dog. Curiosity beat caution. The instructions were simple. Text this number. I see you. Screenshot the reply. Get paid. I texted it from my cracked phone. 10 seconds later, buzz. Now we both see. Want to see more? $500. PayPal dinged. 100. Real money. Should have stopped there, I didn't. The next email came less than an hour later. Bone Collector 42 sent me photos. Rows of antique surgical tools, scalpels, and bone saws with yellowing tags from eBay auctions. I stared at them too long, like they might blink. Attached was a PDF. Rambling nonsense about liberation through amputation and some half-baked theory that pain frees the soul. Real edge of the DSM stuff, I almost laughed. Then came the final line. Film the procedure, $1,000, Royal Inn Motel, room 212, midnight. I should have blocked him, should have deleted the emails, but my power had been cut that morning. Truck, transmissions fried. I got $20 to my name and a fridge that hums but doesn't cool. I called Marisol, my last friend from the warehouse. She didn't pick up. 5 hours later, I was in my Silverado rattling down I-90 toward a motel that hadn't had a working vacancy sign since the Obama years. I was shaking, yeah, but not from fear, from hope. That was the scariest part. The Royal Inn sat behind a shuttered truck stop like it was hiding. One flickering streetlight lit the lot. The front office was locked, but a room key sat on the counter. It read 212. Note beside it, come at midnight. I walked in, heart pounding, like I owed it money. Room 212 smelled like rubbing alcohol, old smoke, and something metallic that stuck to your tongue. The bed was wrapped in a plastic painter's tarp. A fresh hacksaw lay beside a roll of zip ties. I took one step back. My phone buzzed. Marisol. Dylan. That place got condemned last year after the OD cluster. Get out. Buzz again. Bone Collector 42. I see you're here early. Attached was a photo of my truck in the lot, taken from the window across the lot. Room 214. I opened the door. No one there, just darkness. But I swear I felt someone breathing. Behind the wall I wanted to run, but I didn't. Not until the last payment cleared, I waited. Midnight came and went. No knock, no guest. Just that feeling that the air in room 212 wasn't meant for lungs. I left the lights off, the camera on standby. A soft thump next door, then metal scraping. The wall behind me groaned. Something wet hit the tarp. I couldn't do it. I bolted for the truck. Keys weren't in my coat, not in my bag. Buzz email from Bone Collector 42. You saw the tools, now see the artist at work. Attached was a photo, blurry, flashlit. A man's leg, pale and bleeding, stretched out on the tarp. Surgical tubing tied above the knee. In the corner, clear as day, my truck keys. I dry heaved in the parking lot. Tried calling 911, no signal. Tried Uber, no drivers in range. I ran, back to the office. The phone inside was dead. Dawn crept in like it was afraid. I sat on the curb and waited for anything else to happen, but nothing came. Except the cold. When I finally got back home, I found Ms. Wojcik sitting on the stairs with another casserole. She looked at me like she could smell what I'd seen. I told her I might have a job. She just nodded. The PayPal account was gone. Account closed. No more emails. Nothing on Craigslist. Just silence. Marisol called that night. I didn't answer. What would I say? That I'd nearly filmed a murder for gas money? That I'd seen something that didn't feel like it belonged? In this world, a week later, I checked the news, no reports, no missing persons. But a forum thread popped up about a med student from Chicago, last seen in Gary. Craigslist gig gone wrong. I deleted my account. The Silverado still sits in the lot, dead. I walk now. Ms. Wojcik lets me do odd jobs for rent. I sleep better. Most nights, every job pays, but some take more than they give. Sometimes it's better to be broke than broken. It was almost midnight when I found the listing. I was lying on the couch in my shoebox of an apartment in Corvetto, Milan. One flickering ceiling bulb, a half-eaten pizza on the counter, and my laptop glowing on my chest. The only sound came from the radiator rattling like it was ready to give up too. I hadn't had a client in 3 months. The freelance gigs dried up after my last agency stopped replying. Sophia left 2 weeks ago, citing financial instability and emotional unavailability. She was probably right. I was eating canned tuna and avoiding calls from my landlord, Maurizio Marco, my last friend in the city, told me I needed to get out more. I told him I'd rather lift weights than my spirits. That's when I found it. Full set of weights, 50 kilo, $30. Must pick up, via Bramante, 22. Seemed like a joke. Those things usually went for triple that. But the photos looked real, and the seller, Alessia, responded within minutes. Her texts were oddly polite, like someone reading off a template. You may collect them tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. My address is via Bramante, 22. Please be punctual. No emoji, no small talk, just facts. I should have sensed something was off, but $30 for a full set of weights? That was a win, and I needed a win. The next day, I dusted off my bike, pulled on the only clean shirt I had, and made my way through the gray streets of Milan. It was cold, the kind of November chill that gets in your teeth. Corvetto was quieter than usual, less foot traffic, more shutters down. As I turned onto Via Bramante, I passed a few boarded windows and graffiti-tagged shutters. Number 22 was an older building with peeling paint and an intercom that sparked. When I touched it, I pushed the door gently. It creaked open. Inside, the stairwell was dim and smelled like mildew. I should have turned around, but I didn't. The climb to the third floor felt heavier than it should have. Each step groaned like it hadn't held weight in years. I told myself it was fine, just a sketchy building in an old part of town. I knocked. No answer. I was about to leave when the door creaked open. A man stood there, tall, rail-thin, maybe late 40s. His skin was pale, his eyes dark. He wore a beige sweater and jeans that hung too loose on his frame. "You're here for the weights?" he asked, voice flat, emotionless. Yeah. Alessia said 4:30? I'm Roberto, her brother. She stepped out. She left the weights here. He opened the door wider, stepping back. Inside was nothing. No couch, no art, no TV, just an empty living room and a single wooden chair under the window. I paused. "Where are the weights?" I asked. He tilted his head toward the hallway. "Other room. Wait here, I'll check." But he didn't move. Just stood there, blocking the hallway, eyes never leaving me. His fingers tapped at a phone in his pocket and he kept glancing at it, like waiting for a signal. Something felt wrong. The kind of wrong your body recognizes before your brain catches up. "I think I left my wallet in the bike," I said. "1 second, Roberto's half-smile twitched. "No need, you can pay after." "No, really, 1 sec." I backed toward the door, hand already on the knob. His face changed. "No, wait," but I didn't wait. I bolted down the stairs, taking them 2 at a time. Behind me, I heard footsteps, heavy, fast. I didn't look back. When I hit the street, a scooter nearly clipped me, horn blaring. I kept running. Didn't stop until I reached a cafe 3 blocks away and collapsed against the wall, chest heaving. That wasn't just sketchy. That was a trap. The barista gave me a look when I staggered inside. I ordered a bottle of water and sat by the window, shaking. I waited 15 minutes before calling the police. They sent a patrol to Via Bramante. I followed behind in a cab, breath shallow the whole way. The cops didn't seem too rushed. Maybe they'd heard this story before. When we arrived, the building looked even more abandoned than it had an hour earlier, the door now fully shut, locked. The officers forced it open. The stairwell still stank of mold. 3rd floor, apartment 3B, door ajar. The same single chair sat in the middle of the room, but Roberto was gone. No weights, no signs of anyone living. There. The officers did a quick sweep. One of them knocked on a neighbor's door. No answer. Another checked their records, then they told me the truth. That apartment had been vacant for over a year. The real owner? An 82-year-old woman now living in Naples with her daughter. They'd had trouble with squatters, but no one had reported anything like this until recently. Apparently, I wasn't the first. 3 months ago, another man answered an ad for a used bicycle. Same building, same floor, same setup. He got robbed at knife point by a man matching Roberto's description. They told me I was lucky to get out. I didn't feel lucky. On the ride home, I couldn't stop picturing that hallway. The silence. The empty room. Roberto's eyes. That half smile like he was waiting for something or someone to arrive. Back at my apartment, I triple-locked the door. Then I stared at my phone. The chat with Alessia was still there. I opened it. Last message read, "Please be punctual." I hit block. Then I deleted the thread. But I couldn't delete the feeling that I hadn't been alone in that apartment. Not really. After that day, I stopped sleeping properly. Every sound outside felt too loud. Every shadow in my apartment seemed to stretch longer than it should. I started checking the peephole 5 times a night. I tried to move on. I really did. Marco came by, brought beers, told me I needed to let it go. "You're lucky nothing happened," he said. "Forget the creep." But I couldn't. I started second-guessing everything. Subito, it ads, sketchy, door buzzes I didn't recognize, ignored. I even stopped answering calls unless the number was saved in my phone. My landlord Maurizio wasn't so understanding. I'd missed 2 rent payments. He slipped a notice under the door. 30 days to vacate unless paid in full. Job offers were non-existent. I barely had the motivation to open my laptop. My portfolio felt like a joke. Then came the dreams. I'd be standing in that apartment again, staring at the hallway, and Roberto would be there, smiling, waiting. But every time someone else would appear behind him, a second figure just out of sight. Sometimes Alessia's voice whispered from the next room, "You're late." I tried to shake it off, but then exactly 1 week later, I got another message. Same number. "Sorry about last time. Roberto can be strange. The weights are still available if you want them. Half price?" I stared at it for a full minute, then I blocked it again. That night, I barely slept. Around 2:13 a.m., I heard it, a soft knock at the door. 1, 2. Then, silence. I didn't move, I just listened. After a minute, my phone buzzed. No message, just a missed call. The name said, "Unknown." I sat on the floor with my back against the front door, heart racing. I held a kitchen knife like it meant something, like it could stop whatever was out there. The hallway outside was silent now. No footsteps. No voices. Just the distant hum of the city at night. Trams on rusted tracks, a siren far off, the low murmur of someone's TV through the walls. I didn't sleep. I waited for the sun to rise. When it finally did, I peeled myself off the floor and checked the peephole. Nothing. No one. I opened the door slowly, half expecting someone to be standing there. But the hallway was empty, except for one thing. Folded piece of paper on the doormat. I picked it up with trembling fingers. A printed ad. The same one I'd seen on Subito a week ago. 50 kilos weights, $30, must pick up, via Bramante, 22. In the corner, handwritten in neat cursive. Still, available. That was the final straw. I packed my things that afternoon, what little I had, and left Corvetto. Crashed on Marco's couch until I could move out of Milan completely. I changed numbers, killed my Subito account, got a part-time job designing restaurant menus in Bergamo. I kept telling myself it was over, but some nights when the wind howls through the narrow alleyways, I think about that building, that empty room, Roberto's eyes. I wonder if he ever found someone who didn't run. And then I remember what the cops said. I was lucky. Not all online deals are too good to be true. Some are just traps waiting for someone desperate enough to walk in. I almost did. Don't make the same mistake. When you're broke in Portland, hope becomes a kind of currency. I was running out of both. After graduation, I landed an admin job at a nonprofit, decent on paper, but it barely covered food. I'd been couch surfing for weeks, applying to rentals that wanted perfect credit scores and 3 references. I had none of that. Every maybe fell through. The pressure of pretending I had it together at work while scrambling at night was exhausting. One night around 11:45 p.m. I was doom-scrolling Craigslist. Most of the listings were scams or moldy attic rooms going for wild $200. Then this one popped up like it had been posted just for me. Room for rent. $500 MO. Utilities included. Quiet neighborhood. Close to bus line. I clicked. The photos were low quality but looked normal. Messy but not horrifying. I emailed. 10 minutes later, a reply. Hey Jamie, I'm Tom. Come by tomorrow at 7:30. Should be quiet then. House is on Sycamore Lane. The name stuck with me. Sycamore Lane. I wasn't sure why, but I brushed it off. I didn't sleep much that night, half convinced this could be the break I needed. It was affordable. Close to work. A real room. I ignored the little voice in the back of my head whispering, too good to be true, because when you're tired enough, even red flags start looking beige. The next night, Sycamore Lane looked like it hadn't seen sunlight in weeks. The street was narrow and lined with houses that had given up on pretending to be cared for. Faded paint, sagging porches, and one flickering street lamp. Tom answered the door right on time. Late 40s, messy hair, baggy jeans, and a cigarette tucked behind his ear like it lived there. He smiled too wide. Jamie, right? Come on in. The smell hit me first. Mildew mixed with old smoke and something like wet dog. The living room was cluttered with wrappers and old mail. A stack of empty energy drink cans teetered like a sad sculpture on the coffee table. He talked the whole time. Nervous laughter. Random jokes that didn't land. Cozy, right? He said, guiding me down narrow stairs into the basement. The ceiling was low, the carpet was stained, and a mattress sat on the floor under a single bulb. The window was tiny and painted shut. I tried to stay polite, asked about utilities. He waved it off. But I noticed things. No lock on the door, and another pair of shoes by the couch upstairs, too small to be his. Just my buddy, he said too quickly. Crashes here sometimes. My chest tightened. I smiled and said I'd think about it. Tom stepped in front of the staircase, still smiling. $450 if you say yes tonight. I faked a laugh. Need to check my budget. He paused, then stepped aside. Sure, no pressure. I left fast. Too fast. That night I barely breathed until I double-locked my friend's apartment door behind me. I texted my coworker Lexi about it, joking that I almost got Silence of the Lambs ad. But the joke didn't land. I kept refreshing the Craigslist page, but the listing was already gone. I couldn't shake the feeling that something had been wrong. Not just the mess or the smell, but Tom. The way he blocked the stairs. The second pair of shoes. His weird tone like he was trying to keep me there. I searched Sycamore Lane basement room Portland out of paranoia. And there it was, an old Reddit thread. Some woman, username long deleted, saying she toured a basement room that matched everything. Same street, same weird guy. She said he locked the door behind her. She got out by saying her boyfriend was waiting outside. I slammed the laptop shut. Couldn't sleep that night. Over the next few days, I couldn't focus. At work, my boss gently pulled me aside, saying I seemed off. I blamed it on bad sleep and too much caffeine. I didn't mention the basement. I didn't even want to say Sycamore Lane out loud. Then a week later, I got a text. Hey, room's still available. Deposit optional. Let me know. No name. Just the same tone. I blocked the number instantly. But that night, walking back from work, I saw a dented Honda idling across from the bus stop. I didn't stop walking. I didn't call the cops. I told myself I had no proof. No crime. Just weird vibes and an old Reddit post. Still, I stopped taking the bus. Started walking. Different routes home, even paid for Ubers when I couldn't afford it. Every knock on the door made my stomach drop. I installed a door jammer on my friend's place without asking. They didn't question it. I think they could see it in my face. Something wasn't right. I called in sick twice. Couldn't concentrate at work. Every email, every unknown number, made my skin crawl. I debated posting something, warning others, but I was afraid. Afraid of sounding paranoid or worse, being ignored. Or maybe somehow Tom would know. Then Lexi showed me a news article. A missing woman. Disappeared 3 days ago after responding to a Craigslist ad for a cheap room on the east side. It wasn't Sycamore Lane, but it wasn't far. Her friend said she messaged that she'd found a great deal. That night, I wrote an anonymous Reddit post detailing everything I remembered. Tom, the house, the shoes, the stairs. I didn't use my name, but I put it all out there. I don't know if it'll help. I just couldn't keep it bottled up anymore. Tom might be out there, maybe watching, maybe waiting, but I refused to be quiet about it. A month passed. I found a sublet. Overpriced and barely bigger than a closet, but the landlord was legit and the windows locked. The nightmares didn't stop, though. Sometimes I dream I'm back in that basement. Only this time, the door clicks shut behind me. No stairs, just walls closing in. I wake up sweating, always checking my phone to make sure there's no new message. I never saw that dented Honda again, and no one followed up on the Reddit post. The woman from the article is still missing. People keep asking me why I didn't report Tom, why I didn't do more. But fear makes you quiet. It makes you second-guess every memory. It tells you, maybe you're just being dramatic, that nothing happened but something did, maybe not to me. But I saw the shape of it, the setup, the pattern, and I got out. Barely. Don't trust appearances, especially when they're exactly what you want to see. When you're desperate, the world preys on you. Craigslist might offer rooms, jobs, hope, but behind a few of those doors are people like Tom. And sometimes getting out is luck. Pure, terrifying luck. They say redemption's a highway, but for me it started on a Craigslist post. I was somewhere outside Amarillo, driving a rusted-out Buick with no plates and a borrowed collar, posing as a priest. After the concussion, the headaches came with gaps in my memory. All I remembered was my brother Tony telling me to find room 4 at the Sunset Sands Motel, and something about buried cash before he got himself killed in a busted heist. The listing just said, odd jobs, easy cash, Sunset Sands off Route 66, ask for Javi. Sounded like bait, but I was broke and running from ghosts. The motel looked worse than I imagined. Faded pink stucco, busted neon sign barely clinging to the word vacancy. The place reeked of sun-cooked asphalt and loneliness. I checked in with Javi Mendoza, this glassy-eyed vet who looked like he'd seen too much war and too little peace. Said nothing when I asked about Tony. Just handed me a key. Room 4. Other. People arrived all off the same ad. A twitchy girl dragging another in duct tape. A smooth talker in a cheap blazer. A black woman with a voice like Radio Honey and eyes that didn't trust anyone. They picked their rooms too. All of us, strangers drawn to a ghost motel like flies on old meat. The only person watching us all? Javi, sipping from a bottle in the office, his eyes locked on dusty monitors. Whatever was happening here, it started long before we arrived. Tried to sleep that night, but the hum of the AC unit sounded more like a dying animal. Room 4 smelled like cigarettes and regret. The wallpaper peeled like it wanted to escape. I ripped up the floorboards first thing, bare hands blistering on old wood. Found nothing. Just sand, dust, and a dead cockroach grinning at me. Maybe my memory was shot, or maybe Tony lied. Either way, I was losing it. Next door, I heard a woman scream. Darlene, I later learned, said some creep tried slipping something in her drink. I saw myself in her eyes when I went over to help. Tired, angry, cornered. Only difference was, she fought back. Then I spotted Sam. Salesman, he claimed. Didn't walk like one. Too careful, too quiet. I caught him behind the office prying open a vent, said he was looking for a signal. Yeah, right, he was FBI, I knew it in my gut. Later that night, the weird girl, Emily, dragged her sister Lacey into room 7, duct taped her to a chair like she was saving her from something worse. That's when it clicked. This place wasn't just a stopover. It was a trap for all of us. And the walls, they weren't just crumbling. They were watching. I woke up with a knot on my head and dried blood in my hair. Turns out I tried slipping something into Darlene's drink. Or that's what she said. I couldn't remember doing it. That's the problem with memory. Once it breaks, it's easy to blame the cracks on someone else. Javi found me in the hallway, half conscious, and dragged me into the office, handed me a glass of whiskey like we were old friends. You know about the cameras? He asked. I shook my head. They're still running, he said. Your brother knew. Room 5 under the floorboards. Room 5, not 4. Javi confessed everything. His old man ran a fencing ring here, sold stolen goods off Craigslist, and blackmailed buyers with footage from hidden cameras. One tape got sent to the wrong address, a U.S. senator caught buying illegal firearms. Tapes worth millions in hush money, but nobody had the guts to cash it in. I was about to thank him when the window exploded. Gunfire. Emily had a gun, said Sam was following her. Javi caught a bullet through the shoulder, just grazed, but it sobered him fast. Lacey had called Pastor Billy Ray, and he was coming. By nightfall, Billy Ray arrived with 4 guys who looked like they'd kill for water or salvation, whichever came first. They wanted the tape. The same tape buried somewhere under our feet. Javi was bleeding, muttering war prayers from Fallujah. Billy Ray tied him to a chair and started asking questions with a switchblade. Javi didn't break, not until the lights flickered out. Power gone, bill unpaid. Darlene's car wouldn't start either. Craigslist alternator. Figures. I grabbed the bottle of Jack from Javi's desk and the Zippo in his pocket. I lit the curtains. Fire roared up like judgment. Gunfire followed. Javi, bleeding but lucid, grabbed a shotgun and went full Marine. Dropped 2 cultists before Lacey, sweet, quiet Lacey, plunged a broken bottle in his neck. Javi died on the floor, whispering my name, asking if he'd be forgiven. I told him yes. I lied. Darlene and I dug under room 5 in the smoke. Found a duffel. Cash, tape, enough to burn the world or run from it. We chose the latter. The sunset sands lit up the desert like a dying star. No sirens, no rescue, just smoke and silence. Darlene and I made it to Vegas by dawn. She booked a spot at a dive bar, off Fremont. I nursed a whiskey in the back as she sang. Her voice cracked but strong, like she'd earned every note. She still drove that lemon with the bad alternator. The money helped, but life doesn't clean up just because you get lucky. As for me, I still don't know what's real. I remember faces more than facts. Sometimes I think Tony's still alive. Sometimes I forget he ever existed. We burned the tape in the desert outside Kingman. Some things aren't worth saving. Moral? Don't trust deals that promise easy money, and don't trust a place that watches you sleep, especially not one off Craigslist, especially not one that still flickers vacancy.